racing scene.
IMSA coming to Long Beach is a more recent addition, but the beauty of sim racing is we get to imagine the what ifs. And today we'll find out what if 80s IMSA came to the California coast. Let's discover it together as we get ready to watch round 10 of the IMSA Vintage series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. I am Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Alex Goldschmidt. Behind the scenes is our director, Christian Duploy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Long Beach is short, tight, and tricky, but there's secrets to be found if you look hard. So let's get a close-in look with our track guide. Welcome to Long Beach. Nestled into the south side of Los Angeles and running alongside the Pacific Ocean, this street circuit has made the port area world famous. Both Formula One and IndyCar have called this 2-mile, 11-turn circuit home. Winning here has become a prestige worth boasting about among open-wheel pilots. Indeed, the winners list includes the likes of Lauda, Andretti, Unser, Montoya, Power, and many other legendary names in racing. Much like its European sister over in Monaco, it's short, tight, and punishing. But unlike Monte Carlo, this circuit emerged from a rundown piece of California coast to grow into the glamorous location it is today. Down into Turn 1 at the end of Shoreline Drive is where the majority of overtakes tend to be made. But sneaky passes can also pop up in places like 6 on the way into Pine Avenue, or Turn 9 at the end of Seaside Way. There's also 2 distinctive landmarks notorious for causing track blockages. The fountain section, with all its beauty, is a single-file affair save for the first lap. And the hairpin has been a staple here, even though it's changed locations a few times. In fact, that last hairpin not only includes the dangers of getting tangled with another car, but the important nature of getting the best exit you can to keep your rival from having a chance to pass you into the first corner. It feels appropriate that California's signature street track is a hop, skip, and a jump away from the beach. But while others might be trying to attack the surf, our drivers today will be attacking the corners instead. Well, this is always a tough track, but you throw multiclass racing into it, Alex, it's going to be almost nightmarish.
All I can say is watch out for Turn 1. That's all I really need to say, Joe. I mean, it's tight. You've got nowhere to hide. You've got, any mistake will be severely punished. And as with many a street circuit here, Joe, Long Beach is always one that if you bounce off the walls on one side, you're very invariably going to be hitting the other side very quickly.
Yeah, like I said in the track guide, it's a track that can see a blockage quite easily. Now, as for the championship situation so far in the season, Gabri Martinez currently up at the top of things by 28 points. He has more than a win's worth to his name right now over Jacob Reed, with Christoph Olenek sitting in third, tied with Alexi Aloma. Laust Olsen down in fifth is only 4 points ahead of Yuko Leskala. And not often that we'll talk about Yuko Leskala not in the lead on points, but we're usually used to seeing him over in the GTOs, which, speaking of which, why don't we take a glance at how the GTO point standings currently are?
Yeah, Odrius Valentasius again leading the way, but only just 4 points ahead of Jorni Hagner, Noel Lundberg. Further 23 points adrift, so very tight still at this stage of the championship for the GTOs with Cal Young, Mickey Friesen, Emilio Dicciari, Josh Brain, Brandon White, Roman Bello, and Andreas Schuster, rounding out the top 10, who are spread by 74 points at this stage.
Of course, for those that aren't familiar with this series, we're doing things slightly differently today, as it's going to be a 70-minute race. So this is their endurance format, which will force a pit stop for both classes. They are open setup in this series. Drivers are pretty open about sharing that with everybody else, though, so I don't think you need to be too worried about finding one that works for you from your cohorts. But important to today's race is no spare car. If you bounce it off the wall, you're going to have to sit in pit lane and get it repaired, or just call it a day. And then if you somehow manage to get up to 17 incidents and eventually 25, you will have first a drive-through and then you will be a DNF for today. I don't think that one is as much of a worry as just keeping the car in one piece out there, because the incident points will be hard to rack up without also getting race-ending damage on the vehicle. It's a short lap around here, so we're expecting to get some lap times in pretty quickly here.
Yeah, and at the moment, it's looking very dark and very overcast at the moment here at Long Beach. But this will help the drivers. I mean, there's a lot of bumpy, undulating, variating track surfaces here. Air temp, 68 Fahrenheit. Track temp, 80 degrees Fahrenheit, so 20 and 27 Celsius apiece. Wind to the south, 16 kilometers an hour, 10 miles an hour. And, well, it looks like we've got a lot more GTOs than we've got the GTPs on the grid, as we keep an eye on the distinctive green and yellow of the number 4 of Jacob Reed, who is now trying to get to grips with the circuit early and see if he can put his Nissan GTP car as high up the field as possible. Because one of the other things that we've got to remember here, yes, it's a 70-minute enduro, yes, that they're going to have to do a pit stop. It's also that big old back market traffic situation, and when you've got a circuit like here at Long Beach, it only compounds things even further.
Absolutely. So you want that track position. The traffic could help give you some opportunities to pass, I'm sure, but I wouldn't want to have to rely on it, because that's when things will get sketchy if you try to use a pick. Looks like Jacob Reed has just started his first flying lap, but we do have some other drivers that have put one down. Laust Olsen on our provisional pole right now, with Fabian Jungbluth behind him by about half a second, which is actually a pretty big gap for only a minute 12 lap time around here. Watching on board with Jacob Reed coming around onto Pine Avenue, one of the few spots with a little bit of elevation change here, and then down to Seaside Way on the backstretch. So important to get the launch.
Yeah, and this is the only opportunity that you get a brief chance to breathe before it's hard on the brakes into the next right-hander. Just don't clip the curbs too hard, otherwise you found yourself pinballing into the wall on the left-hand side, or even the tyre barriers thereof. But it's, again, this very tight final section through the final corner. Jacob Reed now will power down the main straightaway underneath the bridge and puts it across the line. And that is going to look like a pretty good lap. 1 minute 11.414, nearly 6/10 quicker than Laust Olsen. Here's Noel Luneberg in the number 3 Audi 90 GTO, trying to chase down Odris Valentejus, who has put in the best effort of a 1:18.127. Luneberg tracking pretty well, coming out of the final corner. Keeps the Audi GTO to the left-hand side of the start of the final corner on the exit and crosses the line. Puts in a 1:17.933 and goes pole provisionally by just under 2/10.
Laust Olsen trying to fight back on Jacob Reed, see if he can retake that top spot. He's about halfway through the lap at this stage, coming up Pine Avenue. And Odris Valentejus, I think, is just about to complete his second lap, so he could retake the pole down in the GTOs. There we see him now. He'll come across the line. A 17.7, that'll do it. And Noel Lundberg, with both of his laps done, cannot respond now.
And it just goes to show how finite the tolerances are here, as we're with the number 11, Christophe Olivier. Let's see if he can actually put that car as high as he can, as Gael Gonzalez puts it P5 in the number 18. Olivier now coming through into Indy left, and then it's going to be out of the final hairpin, and then through the acceleration zone here at Shoreline Drive. Can the number 11 get to the sharp end? Close here. 1:11.804. That is good for the outside of the front row, because that time is just registered. Oh, JD Rodriguez.
Unfortunately, finding the outside wall at Firestone Turn is not going to do him much good. So his qualifying is done without taking a second lap. Adrian Leone is just crossing the line, and his only timed lap is going to put him 13th in class. Now, We're missing a few important names here. Joni Hagner has not set a lap down in the GTOs. Watch for him to climb through the field. And going offline, I should note, is probably going to be an interesting task because I'm noticing, and I think the drivers have noticed as well, there are a lot of marbles. It is a heavy use circuit right now. It looks like anybody who has to deal with the traffic is going to be at a disadvantage, and Christoph has just clipped the wall. That's probably going to delete this lap.
I have to say, shout out to Adrian Leone with a throwback to the old Tony Kanaan days with the 711 cool livery way back when he was running an IndyCar as a driver, not now as a team manager. So good to see someone bringing a little bit of class back to Long Beach. But yeah, it is getting down to the wire. Noel Luneberg at the minute is that's not how you make your way around Long Beach into the tyre barriers. So the Audi looking a bit second-hand. Klaus Olsen looks to be the last driver out on the circuit. Has just gone through the opening sector and was over 6/10 down.
He's also on his third lap, so he's this one won't count. They only get 2 laps total here in official racing to set a time in qualifying, which means everybody is done. But we're missing, it looks like 6 cars to set a time. That's less than ideal.
Joni Hagner and Andreas Schuster being 2 of them. But, well, that's really going to be interesting because some drivers will have decided, I'm not going to go out and qualify. I'm going to wait and see if the race comes to me. And sometimes that is the better strategy.
Just got to hope that you can avoid any big pileups in front of you. But as we mentioned, Jacob Reed is your pole sitter to start this one off. Christoph Olenek will be in second, with Laust Olsen in third, and Brendan Lim starting in fourth. Fabian Jungbluth will be P5, with Gail Gonzalez in the 6th position. Then it's John Schwartz on the inside of row 4. Jean-Sue Pardo will be starting in 8th. It's Ray Oliver not setting a time there, starting in 9th, and Andrew Blackman in the 10th position. And then from there on down, the rest of our GTPs, that actually looks like that is all of them. Let's go over to the GTOs, Alex.
Yeah, Ozarius Valentagius and Noel Luneberg round out the front row ahead of Cal Young and Mickey Frierson, with Emilio Dichardi and Shady Ahmad rounding out the top 3 rows. Ilka Cotti-Solo and JD Rodriguez with Brandon Wright and Roman Bello, Brandon White, and Roman Bello rounding out your top 10. In the GTOs, then it's Josh Brain and Martin Krejcik, Adrian Leone and Joni Hagner, Andreas Schuster, Pablo Rangel, and Ignacio Riera rounding out the 17 strong, with the last 4 drivers. Quite unusual to see Joni Hagner and Andreas Schuster not set a lap time here.
And looking at the chat inside the sim, it does seem like Joni did not mean to do that, because sometimes we'll see the very fast drivers, if they're not competing for a championship, they want to have some fun. They like to try and blast their way up through the field and make some passes in the process, but it doesn't look like he quite intended it to be this way. Not sure if maybe he had a run-in with the wall on his lap and ended his qualifying prematurely, as they are currently lined up just before Tecate turn, as they are looking backwards on Shoreline Drive. There you see them now getting ready to take off behind the safety car. And there has already been an agreement with the field to go around the hairpin single file, which I don't blame them on agreeing to that.
That's kind of a bit like yellow flags at the Melco hairpin at Macau. Of all places, where it is yellow flags, no overtaking. So I think a very, very good call there, boy. All the drivers to agreeing, but I think when it's a 70-minute enduro race, you wanna keep your car in one piece. You want to get those points by crossing the line and making it through what could be a very, very tricky race. With 70 minutes, a pit stop's going to need to be made. And with those marbles, Joe, that's going to make overtaking really, really difficult here.
Boy, will it ever. There you can see on the outside coming down into Firestone Turn, drivers actually going over a bit of them. They'll have to be careful at the start. It's already going to be cool tires. And some of our GTOs are trying to weave to warm them up to help that out. They're going to be in a different situation because they're going to get the green before probably they get around the hairpin, as you can see. And yeah, look at the marbles on this shot. That is going to be just a headache, as they actually did go side by side, at least for our GTPs, but the green flag is already out, and Jacob Reed gets a huge jump over Christoph. He is well ahead of him before they even get to the braking zone down at turn 1. It's a battle between Olsen and Gonzalez, though. No, excuse me, Olsen and Lim, rather. Lim around the outside, and the purple machine goes a little bit deep. Olsen doesn't have enough to fight back, and thankfully they mostly go single file by the time they reach the fountain. Let's take a look at the GTO start.
Yeah, Valenteus and also Luneberg, line astern, Cal Young. It has been pretty much staying in the same position, but Martin Krejcik looks to be out early in the number 20, and has meant that we've got one less car roaring around the streets of Long Beach. Jonny Hagner has already gone up 2 places, so is ahead of Andreas Schuster, who's up a spot, as is Adrian Leone. And, oh, right, who is that?
That's Blackman.
Blackman.
He must have had a run-in with someone or something and is missing the front of the car. And he's thankfully parked it, allowing a lot of our GTOs to head on through. And looks like this is down at turn 6. And yeah, unfortunately, finds the tire barrier. But in the meantime, the lead of the GTOs has Audrius Valenteus leading Noel Luneberg, with Cal Young following in close behind.
Yeah, it is going to be a pretty big game of chess, as there we see Mickey Frierson rocking the NASA jumper today, as he is closing in on Cal Young for that 3rd spot, as again they go through at Toyota, now the famed water fountain. And I think if I remember my IndyCar history, wasn't that where a certain Spider-Man, as in Helio Castroneves, ended up back in this one year?
Oh, I'm sure he's had at least one time. There's been a lot of incidents there over the years. But Mickey Friesen hoping not to imitate another driver that's already gone to space today in the Lotus 49 race, as he would like to keep it on terra firma. Now, Adrian Leone, unfortunately, went deep down at the entry to Seaside Way. Actually had to find reverse and eventually got his way going, but a lot of time was lost.
Yeah, and oh, there we go. Audrius Valenteus loses the lead to Noel Luneberg. Looks like a little bit of a mistake from the number 1 car. Jacob Reed just posts the fastest overall lap of the race so far, as we're on lap 3. Well, make that now 1 minute 12.952. Looks like Valenteus might have missed a shift on that particular occasion.
Something very common in this car, to be honest. So even the best, like Audrius Valenteus, is not impervious to having the odd mistake in the gearbox of the Audi. As they fly down towards the fountain once again. It has been very single file, but these cars are blocky. They punch a huge hole in the air. I think despite the straights being so short, it's really keeping them close together, which is not going to be good once the GTPs catch the back of them.
And then you also throw pit stops into the mix. That is going to provide a further conundrum, as Cal Young in the number 5 car trying to look for a move on Valenteus for P2. But again, like you say, it's a very much a single file style of track. And you can just see by the bumps and the undulation, Cal Young's Audi 90 GTO getting a little bit tail happy, as that's the launch from way back when. Young to the inside of Valenteus, and this is going to be into Indy left, and then the hairpin. Cal Young is now going to have to do exactly like they said, the driver's agreement, single file through the hairpin.
Now, that agreement was for the starts, I will note, so I don't know that everybody's going to agree to stay that way.
No, it's been a long day.
We'll see if anybody tries it. Amazingly, I have seen a pass or two work there, and a pass attempt coming around the outside of turn 1 is actually going to work, and Cal Young has managed to get by our current leader in the points, Audrius Valenteus. So, the number 1 car, apparently not that confident at the start of this race. His braking distances seem to be a bit longer than those around him.
Yeah, now, one of the other things is whether Valenteus might be going for the longer game. And looking at the opening sector, well, Cal Young flew through it. 21.9, 22.5 for Lundberg and Valenteus. Driessen not that far behind either. So, yeah, you can see that Valenteus.
So maybe make it on one stop. I'm not sure what the distance is likely to be. But if he can make it without the pit stop, obviously that'd be huge around here because it's a long pit lane.
Yeah, and now look, Cal Young is trying to pull away from him, but Noel Lundberg, Valenteus coming back at him through Bridgestone on the run down to Toyota. Again, lifting and letting the car get the momentum to go through the corner. So I think less is more is the kind of driving style that we're seeing from Audrius Valenteus, just being on that conservation strategy. As Brandon White has just gone around and he's trying to spin the car around. Oh, yeah, cheeky little Jim Clark move there.
Nicely done. So he's had some involvement with JD Rodriguez. Oh, the two came together. The Ferraman keeps going. While Brandon White finds himself facing the wrong way. Gail Gonzalez versus Lau Stolzen. This is for 4th in the GTPs. We don't need to go back to them, but just speculating, the way Lundberg, well, the whole field was kind of stacked up behind Valenteus for the first couple laps, and now it seems those in front of him are running away. I wonder if he was kind of holding everybody up with his style of fuel save racing that we're seeing at the start. So something to speculate on a little bit later on. Gonzalez still hot on the heels of the number 17 onto the back straightaway. Needs a good run here, and it does look like Gale has got it, but with a little peek to the inside, it's not good enough.
Yeah, and here comes the forever forward Jonny Hagner going side by side, and that is through on Josh Braid. So a good move by the Finn, and is now up 5 positions. Also looking a little bit further down the order, Andreas Schuster, who's a couple of cars behind, has made up 3 spots. So has Pablo Rangel, and 2 other drivers that did not set a lap time in qualifying. So expect Hagner to pick off drivers one by one, and that's the strategy you've got to have here. You've just got to wait to pick your moments here at Long Beach.
Interestingly enough, Hagner is only showing about 7 seconds behind the leader in the GTOs right now, so he hasn't lost a whole lot of time despite being down in 9th and having to fight his way through about 5 spots already. We come back to this fight for 4th down in the GTPs, and they are now catching the back of the GTOs as they have approached Adrian Leone.
And now here comes the jigsaw puzzle that you've got to solve, and that is not going to be easy. As Leone having to keep out of the way. Jonny Hagner to the outside of JD Rodriguez, and Hagner, I think Rodriguez is also on the saving strategy. So Jonny Hagner has decided, well, if everyone's going to start lifting and coasting, forget it, I'm going to go full push.
And I don't blame him. The speed that Hagner tends to have kind of makes sense for him to just try and not save fuel to get to the end. Might as well make the passes and hope that his overall pace can make the difference. This is the battle that doesn't seem to want to change every time we check in, but look how close the 18 is getting to the back of this blue and yellow car. Ray
Oliver's just had a mechanical black flag, so that could be another GTP out of the race.
So we'll see if we can figure out what happened to him. He is indeed already in the pits. Good news is he should be able to get to the end from here. Bad news is he doesn't have a spare car. Oh, just goosed it up a little bit too hard coming out of Firestone turn and found the wall.
It looks like it also compromised the right front steering, of the right side of the steering rack there as well, because the right wheel was turning right rather than staying inwards, as Gael Gonzalez gets through, and that is going to be on brand white. So first 10 minutes, we've only had an incident or two here or there. It looks like Andrew Blackman has been in the pits along with Marcin Krejcik. There's Emilio Di Ciari, the Argentinian, holding on to 5th place in the GTOs at the minute, just half a second behind Mickey Frierson, with Shady Ahmad, Ilka Kotisalo, and also Joni Hagner. And Hagner has got a 2-point-second differential to make up. So if he's going to continually push, and everyone else is doing the Valenteus strategy, as in save as much fuel as possible, I think that there is an opportunity for Joni Hagner to move up the order before the pit stop phase.
Almost makes me wonder if it would be worth it for Hagner to pit early and try to kind of run on his own and hope to leapfrog all those around him. But we'll see as we ride on board with Bello coming down into the braking of turn 1. He's close to Josh Brain, but not close enough. The two of them have to sit and stay behind JD Rodriguez, at least through this portion, where there's very little in the way of opportunity to pass, because it is just constant corners.
Yeah, and there is Jacob Reed in the back of shot behind Andreas Schuster, it looks like. And Jacob Reed quickly gets through. Schuster stays out of the way. It's just about managing the traffic. And Jacob Reed, who we see in a variety of series here on iRacing, of course, would have made an appearance in, for instance, the GP Tour, the Grand Prix Legends et al. And he's one of the drivers, like we see with Valenteus, that competes in a variety of series, and the amount of wheel work and laps that these drivers put in is quite literally astounding, Joe.
Yeah, Jacob Reed knows how to compete at the top level, especially in open wheelers on iRacing, and showing that skill does transfer over to Tin Tops, as he's still leading by about 4 seconds. Shady has managed to get a spot here over Di Ciari. No, it looks like actually he's, I think, stayed ahead of him instead. And that's 5th for the number 16. Checking back in with Josh Brain once more. Still stuck behind JD Rodriguez. But behind them, watch out, that is Christoph there sitting in the number 11, trying to patiently look for a safe spot to overtake them. He's only going to get one before the next corner of Tecate turn. He is really in a tough spot and losing time up to Jacob Reed hand over fist.
Yeah, and the thing is, with Alenajak getting through, that means that JD Rodriguez is 3.3 seconds behind Joni Hagner, who has closed that gap from 2 seconds, just under 8/10 behind Ilka Kotisalo in the number 8. So Hagner continuing to push, and was a second quicker than the number 8. And look at this traffic jam. It's like an M25 on the Friday night. Everyone's trying to get home on time for dinner. And big amount of damage to the front end. I think wasn't too sure who that was. One of the Audis. And that's Roman Bello, who is again just trying to keep with Andreas Schuster. There's Shady Ahmad in the number 16 car, the man from South Africa, holding on to the coattails of Mickey Frierson. Chari, Kotisalo, Hagner, they're all there, pretty much there or thereabouts. But again, this battle, once this continues onwards, as Cal Young and also Noel Luneberg, this is the battle for the GTO lead. Cal Young gets through on the Dutchman. So Cal Young up to the front of the field, but Lüneburg has picked up damage in the meantime, so that's probably hurting the number 3.
Yeah, this car is known for being a bit sensitive to any of the four corners being touched, and that can hurt the drive of this four-wheel drive car. But he's coming back at him. He's got a run on Cal Young down to turn 1. Cal defends. Excuse me.
Yep.
And he's going to be able to hold on to that top spot. I noticed that Cal was catching back up to Noel, because remember that Cal Young had to get by Audrius Valenteus, and he had pulled away, I think, to about 1.5 seconds. So this, to me, says that Cal is the quicker of the two.
Yeah, and looking at the lap times, well, it was 0.8 of a second. So Cal Young did an 18.9, Lüneburg 19.7, flat on the nose. Hagner now finding, oh, well, he's being assaulted from all sides. And he's now finding that, that's a big old hit. John Schwartz, I think, or was that Fabian Jungbluth? Hit the wall there. That was Jungbluth chasing down. And again, they've got the number 8, Ilkka Kotisalo, who keeps out of the way as they go through Firestone into Indy left. And then the hairpin that's going to bring them onto Shoreline Drive. And they're 2 wide now, nearly 3 wide coming out of the hairpin. That was a bit too close for comfort, I think, especially if the name is John Schwartz in the number 9 with the wonderful Mazda 787B tribute livery there. They were so close as Lüneburg pulls it into the pit lane. I would say maybe to repair that damage and say, you know what, I don't want any of this, as Shady Ahmad and Nicky Frierson go into battle. That's Schwartz on the outside, and Frierson gives him a love tap from behind, coming past the fountain. Oh dear, this is going to be one of those moments where you just blink and miss what jocularity might be happening in the next few minutes.
Yeah, worth mentioning that Bello also pitting in. Remember, he had damage. So, yeah, I'm starting to think drivers who are pitting early are just trying to mitigate some of the effects that they're experiencing from that. Nicky Friesen onto the back stretch finally has at least most of the GTPs on by, so he can focus on Dechari behind him and trying to keep him at bay. But like you mentioned, Yanni Hagner has been steadily climbing his way through. He's the next one behind Emilio. He is going to be one to watch out for. Everybody knows about the reputation of the speed of Hagner.
Oh, and there's another Audi GTO that's got a bit of damage on the front end of it. So somebody else has... so Noel Lüneburg still in pit road. It's going to be rather interesting on that front, Joe.
That's Riera, I think, that we saw. Ignacio Riera. He's 2 laps down already, so don't think he's in amongst this fight. He's technically behind them position-wise. But the Argentinian doing all he can to keep up as things got, I think, sketchy. I think we just missed a moment between Valenteus and that lapped car that I was talking about, while they were also dealing with Fabian Jungbluth. Let's take a look at Rodriguez first.
Oh, lots of the barriers. And it's with John Stupardo, and big damage for the Spaniard.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he is since driven into pit lane or is headed there right now. But the battle up here for what is I believe, let's see, for third, essentially, is all going by. Lots of cars, lapped cars within their class, and I wondered whether or not Hagner would try to dip out of this. He's decided, yeah, now's about the time, and he's in pit lane.
Yeah, and this in terms of the, I mean, you think of it, it's just under 20 minutes as Noel Lüneburg rejoins after 1 minute and 32 on his marks in the pit lane. 2 minutes. That's nearly 2 laps that the Dutchman has lost out on. But the thing is, by making sure that damage is sorted out on the front of that Audi 90 GTO, And Dichardi still fighting behind Mickey Frierson. The pair are about 2.5 tenths of a second apart. And just in front of them is going to be a couple of other drivers. There's Mickey Frierson, loving the box of neutrals on the tailgate of that car. That definitely means that hopefully that's his good luck charm for not missing a shift here in the GTO division. But again, between Mickey Frierson and Shady Ahmad, the gap is around about 1.1 seconds. And then it's a further. Oh, Dichardi missed a shift there, I think.
Certainly seems to have lost some time. And yeah, the box of neutrals actually for a while was an award being passed around in the IMSA Vintage community, made by, and talk about a missed shift. Boy, he caught up to Mickey Frierson very quickly down into turn one. But it was made by Cam Porter, and it was quite literally a box full of ends that I believe it was for the most improved driver is what they were doing, handed around and kind of sent to whoever they felt deserved it. I don't know if they're still doing that, but it was certainly a nice little touch that they had amongst one another. Emilio is a little bit stuck at the moment. He is going to get potentially some help, because I think they've got Jansu Pardo starting to catch up, and he could create a pick.
Yeah, and still, even though we've got just under 49 minutes to go, there's a lot of running to be going on around this circuit here, just short of 2 miles. An ascend by John Stupardo, the Peruvian, from way back when. That's how you get past a couple of Audi 90 GTOs. And then the next person on his hit list is going to be Mickey Frierson in the number 10, 4th place car in the GTOs. And now we're going to see the rate of speed. Pardo to the outside, through Bridgestone, neat as you like on the run down to Toyota at T1.
And I think that was a fascinating illustration of the differences between these cars as well, because we have to remember that this is a ground effects car, this Nissan. So it tends to like those faster corners going through the hairpin. It is all down to the mechanical grip, which is admittedly not great in this car. Compare that to the four-wheel drive that we see with these Audi GTOs, and they launch off the corners. So initially, the Audi is the quicker of the two cars, despite being slower on lap time. Yet down the straight, the oomph underneath the hood of this Nissan eventually means that they can get past. But for Gonzalez, he still has not been able to get past Laust Olsen. He's still looking at that rear wing.
Yeah, and also when the majority of the GTP field decides to peel into pit road, it's also about deciding, are you going to go for that extra, not 1 lap, maybe 2, because with this very much a stop and go circuit in many respects here at Long Beach. It's about just again picking your moments. The pit stops are really where it's going to count and be crucial towards where you end up at the checkered.
I'll tell you how close these cars are driving to walls. We've been hearing scrapes and clunks every once in a while, especially when we ride on board. There was a big slip up from Gonzalez, the Spaniard, too greedy on the throttle. They'll go by Hagner, who stays off to the side, knowing how it's done as a veteran in this series. And off we go, carrying on with this fight for 4th place. Hagner is the highest car to have pitted amongst the GTOs, by the way, with a 14-second stop. That's way shorter than everybody else we've seen so far. But again, we're not sure if others maybe have been repairing damage up to now.
Yeah, whether Joni Hagner is trying to keep that car as light as humanly possible, it's more the case of that is, I think, reflective of a very aggressive strategy. So from that perspective, don't really want to be the driver that sees Joni Hagner in your rearview mirror.
I think he's got a good shot on this one. His best lap, I think, is the best of anybody in the GTOs. No, I take that back. Cal Young has a slightly quicker lap currently, so he doesn't hold that one quite yet, but he's within 1/10 of a second of Cal Young's fastest lap as well. Cotasalo allowing a couple drivers through. He's fighting with Dechari, but that is not Dechari in front of us. That is actually the car of Ray Oliver in the GTP, who's doing a very good job, just kind of waiting for another good chance to get by. There's not very many long straights here in the first part of the lap.
No, it is just, like I said earlier on, picking your moments. You just got to wait for that window of opportunity, and then also maybe for that door to open, because Dechari still battling with Grierson for that fourth position. Down Seaside Way, into the left here at Firestone Turn. Dechari to the inside, uses quite a bit of curbing. And then it's going to be through into Indy left. Can the Argentinian get through on the man from the USA to the hairpin? It's going to be close. Dechari to the inside. Oh, and it's going to be a drag race between the two, but the Argentinian unable to, and he's got damage to the left front corner of that Audi. But then you see the speed he's catching round the outside and into Toyota. Dechari finally breaks the deadlock.
Nicely done. And there's your answer to your question about whether or not the truce would carry on beyond the start for too wide through the hairpin. That was some argy-bargy type of stuff, but you have to, as it is so tight through that right-hander, and it worked out, at least this time, for Dechari.
I think definitely the truce was definitely, oh hell no, Dechari thinking, I'm going to go for this. Mickey Frierson, watch yourself, and then he's got Ilka Cottisalo closing in on him. So what is Mickey Frierson doing? Is he lifting now? Because Valenteus is, let's put it this way, 8.1 seconds behind race leader Cal Young from the UK. And these laps are fine by Joe. I mean, the GTPs are on lap 23, GTOs are on lap 21. Oh dear, and it looks like Adrian Leone has got a big amount of damage to the front end of the number 26. There you see it.
Yeah, he is now multiple laps down, so I think he's just trying to limp this one home without getting in the way of a few folks. It's been a rough one to start his race. This is starting to become a bit of a conga line, and Dechari, who had had enough of it, is running away up at the front. It is instead Friesen who could be trying to save, like you said. It did seem like he was braking a little bit earlier than those around him. John Schwartz is just going to send it in too deep, and he's honestly lucky he was able to make that corner.
Yeah, and also with the fact that JD Rodriguez is now out, along with Andrew Blackman, so one out in GTP, one out in GTO, as Leone stays out of the way of Mickey Frierson, who's got Cottisalo closing in. There's Jacob Reed putting him down another lap, and again, the speed differential, Jacob Reed having the presence of mind going, okay, there's Ilka, there's Mickey, hi, bye, all in one maneuver.
And I think that has been a defining factor of the quick drivers in the IMSA Vintage Series pretty much since its inception, is dealing with that chaos that is lap traffic. Jacob Reed really showing why he is one of the front runners, because those decisive moves have got him a 12.5 second lead over P2.
So Christopher Lunijak is being put into a little bit of a Long Beach hurt locker here, to be honest with you, by the man. Okay. And looking at the left side, I mean, we talked about scraping the wall. Jacob Reed has got less green than there's got primer on the left-hand side of that Nissan GTP. So that'll need a trip to the body shop after this race. So gets through. And again, just showing how committed he is. So close to the wall, the tail end snakes left as he applies the power. Down Seaside Way. Tops out at about 150 before going through at Firestone Turn and then into Indy left. And we're going to get a real understanding and appreciation of the speed of these Nissan GTP cars. So straight on the gas. That's 100 miles an hour. 150 as he crosses the stripe. And coming through Bridgestone. 170, close to 175. But then you've got to really measure your braking markers here in the GTPs, because it's a case of lifting off, then hitting the brakes. You don't want to go stamping too hard on the brakes in the GTPs. Again, Jacob Reed, he's scraping the barriers like nobody's business. And, well, you can see the sparks flying from the left rear quarter panel on that Nissan. And, well, the walls predominantly are to your left-hand side as Andreas Schuster closing in on the pair of Ilkka Kotisalo in 6th, Mickey Frierson in 5th. So battle for P5 really starting to come to the fore.
Frierson now well behind Achari. He's about 2.3 seconds up the road. We're thinking that Mickey might be trying to save a little bit of fuel. They've got some more lap traffic coming up, sending up between a couple of them. That's Christoph, P2, in the GTPs. Oh, and this is where it gets tricky, because he's going to try to get himself in there down into the hairpin, and thankfully finds just enough of a gap that they can go single file without having to go too wide around the final corner. And now the grunt underneath that engine bay will free him from this train of cars.
And in the meantime, lap 26, new fast lap by Jacob Reed, 1:12.653. So now that he's really finding his rhythm is the man from the UK in the number 4, Andreas Schuster, closing on Ilkka Kotisalo in the number 8 car. And there's further GTP machinery behind them, I would say. Probably Brendan Lim is one of them, maybe the third, yeah, in the, oh, that's delivery from back in the day. If that's the number 13 of Brendan Lim, who's just dived to the inside of Ilkka Kotisalo. That's the old Jaguar Silk Cut livery from back in the days, for the likes of the XJR15. The Martin Brundle used to drive for Jaguar as a works driver, but Brendan Lim now trying to fight his way through. Gets through on Mickey Frierson, hard on the brakes, turns it in. Well, this just goes to show how quickly this back marker traffic is starting to close on in. I've just seen Laust Olsen, Gael Gonzalez is right on the back of the Dane as they go through out of Indy left, through out of the hairpin. So the Spaniard has a run at the Dane. John Schwartz not that far behind. And over 150 miles an hour. Gonzalez will not have enough slipstream down Bridgestone into Toyota to facilitate a passing maneuver.
Yeah, we're just about at the halfway point, and already our leaders in the GTOs have been lapped twice. So we're going to see at least 2 more times, theoretically, that they'll have to go by them, depending on the pit stops and the timing of that. Oh, but Laust Olsen is getting to be under threat by Gonzalez once more. We keep waiting to see whether or not the 18 can find a way through, and both of them having to get their elbows out, with Andreas Schuster giving space down at the apex of turn 6, switching back onto Seaside Way. They are passed, but this is another good opportunity. If you're Gonzalez, the Dane is trying to cover the inside while they also overtake, and that's going to give a chance, it looks like, behind them for Kotisalo. He's just about through on Mickey Frierson. He's going to have the inside coming down into the hairpin. Frierson surely's got to give it up from here, and indeed he does.
Yeah, John Schwartz
having to
check up, and Frierson and Kotisalo make contact. Frierson's going to get the run from the inside of the hairpin down the stretch here at Bridgestone. And John Schwartz, landing on the lights, makes it 3 wide. A GTP Piggy in the middle, splits 2 Audi GTOs. And what this has also done is brought in Andreas Schuster, man from Germany in the number 6 car. So the battle for P5 between Ilkka Kotisalo, that's just taken that place from Mickey Frierson. And then here we are riding on board with Andreas Schuster up 8 spots. Another driver along with Joni Hagner that did not set a lap time in qualifying. Schuster is another one you need to keep your eyes on here.
Frierson already dropping back from Ilkka by about 0.7 of a second. Next up behind them, they've got Fabian Jungbluth Oh, but we were wondering when Gonzalez would have a go at things around the outside. Usually does not work down at Firestone. And he'll back out of that one. Laust Olsen still retains in front of him. They're catching up to Ahmad in the number 16, who still runs third in class, doing a great job here today. And that was a poor exit by the Spaniard. So the Dane once again runs off into the distance.
Yeah, but this GTO backmarker traffic may help or hinder Laust Olsen. And at the minute, we're going through out of turn one at Toyota. Now to the, oh, and here we go. Schuster to the inside. Mickey Frierson. Oh, and Schuster glances the barriers. Schuster glances the barriers. And Mickey Frierson, well, had to keep out of harm's way. He's got a race to run, and he's also got points to gather. So maybe just by letting Schuster through, it's helped with his game plan, because we are past the halfway point of this race, Joe, and a lot of the drivers are still running, both in GTP and GTO. Jongstu Pardo is the only driver that has actually had to do a forced pit stop and spent nearly 4 minutes in total, including 3 minutes and 38. This is just where the strategy call of lift and coast, save a little bit of fuel. Cal Young, in the meantime, however, you think that Jacob Reed's lead of 18.1 seconds over Christopher Lenijak in the GTPs. Cal Young now over 11 seconds over Audrius Valenteus for the lead in the GTOs. And the man from the UK, that is definitely a sign of someone who is not going slowly. He's just done an 18.981. Valenteus' last lap was a 19.743. So Cal Young is expanding that gap, but not by nigh on a second every lap he goes around the streets here at Long Beach.
Here's where things get tricky, though. If Cal Young does need a pit stop and Valenteus is able to eliminate one, then I don't think those 11 seconds are going to do it, even if Cal has pace that he can try to run him back down. That's going to be too short a time by the time they pit at the end for him to make up any gap. So it's if this is a big if Audrius is able to make it to the end without a pit stop, I think he's still sitting in the catbird seat on that front. But you're right that Cal Young does seem to be the quickest of anybody out there at the moment. We're just going to have to wait and see, because highest driver to have pitted is Joni Hagner. He is still on the lead lap for what it's worth. Wow, oh my goodness. That is a huge clutch.
How early does Audrius Valenteus want to lift going into Toyota? That must have been at least 250 meters back.
And what amazes me more is he's still in second. He's able to run this pace. I mean, this is Dixon-esque fuel saving that we're seeing out of him.
Well, speaking of Dixon-esque fuel saving, I still remember Alexander Rossi's fuel saving at the Indianapolis 500 the year that he won it. But that is just crazy. That is crazy. Oh, right. Who's gone around in the GTPs? Pardo, who's got a mechanical black flag, so the Camel GT Nissan is going to have to take another trip down into pit lane, I'm afraid, and that could be more time for the Peruvian spent on his marks.
Now, if I've seen, that's our leader. This happened right next to our GTO leader, so he's got to be glad that he decided to go straight on and didn't try to make the corner, because he could have collected Cal Young with a wrong move there. Yeah.
That is very, very true, as he's got Gael Gonzalez behind him. Laust Olsen has already gotten through. But, yeah, I mean, the pace that Cal Young is doing at the moment is absolutely frightening. He's just done a mid 21.3 on the opening sector. So he is clearly pushing. Joni Hagner. Get this for an opening sector. 21.2. He's just done a high 33.5 in the mid sector. So Young and Hagner are both pushing, but because of Hagner taking that pit stop on lap 14. Man from Finland currently running P11 in the class at the moment, was running as high as the top 6. And well, it's been a race to forget for Noel Lundberg. 2 minutes in pit lane, 1 minute and 30 on the marks in the pit road. And so it's a bit of damage limitation now for Noel Lundberg in the number 3.
He's already gone a lap down from his class leader. So yeah, like you said, just trying to bring home whatever he can, hoping that other cars will run afoul of some issues. And I'm knocking on wood before I say this, but we've only had 3 official DNFs. Now, we might see Pardo join those. That's far fewer than I anticipated by this point. I thought that attrition would be a much bigger factor.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. Loving the fact whenever I see Shady Ahmad's livery, it always reminds me of the mid-1990s Volvo 850 T5 Touring that used to upset the apple cart back in those days. Jacob Reed, lap 34 completed, new fastest lap again, a 1:12.486. So he is definitely now really starting to push, and he's over 20.5 seconds ahead of Christophe Olenijak for the overall race lead. Cal Young now nearly 13 seconds ahead as Brandon White closing in on Pablo Rangel. This is for P9 in the GTO division. And Brandon White, obviously we saw that little bit of a turnaround for him, mainly because of the fact that he got turned around early in the race. But Brandon White doing a nice steady recovery here on Long Beach, as we get a ride on board in from the dash cam. Flames spitting from the exhaust of the number 22 of Pablo Rangel from the side exit exhaust. Fearsome beast back at its day. Right, Josh Brain now in pit road from P8. So we could start to see as Brandon White to the outside. And Brendan Lim just went straight. Oh no, Rangel's just hit the back of him. And Brendan Lim has just rearranged the front. Look at this, Lars Olsen has gone straight on. Brendan Lim has just pulled it, towed it to the pits. And that has changed everything. Gael Gonzalez is through, and here comes John Schwartz trying to battle with the Dane. But all of a sudden it was Brendan Lim who decided to dive to the inside of the dueling Audis. Smacked it straight on at high speed into the barriers. We're going to have a look at the replays. Oh, Rangel gets the hip check from John Schwartz. So look, Brendan Lim to the inside of Pablo Rangel and doesn't even look like he hit his break point. And then Rangel tags the back of the Silk Cut number 13. And I think that might be Brendan Lim's race done and dusted.
I shouldn't have said anything. It's another.
Don't worry, fate of circumstance, Joe Peak. Fate of circumstance. My book clear.
Oh, John Schwartz, obviously eager to make a few moves now that he has caught up to Laust Olsen. That big lift or pause really on the track for the number 17. Not only cost him the spot, like you mentioned, with Gonzalez sneaking by, but could fall out of 4th place with John Schwartz just putting the pressure on. 26 minutes left to go in this race. We got another replay to check out. This is from onboard Pablo. He thinks he's in a fight until, and you know what? If he would have kept trying to make the corner, I think he maybe could have steered to the inside, but he almost looked like he made a late correction.
Yep, and here comes Joni Hagner closing in on Brandon White. So with Josh Brain having pitted, Pablo Rangel looking very... Rangel was... it's a real shame for Pablo at that point. And yeah, like you say, if Rangel had tried to get past the tried to get through on the corner, that he wouldn't have tagged the back of Brendan Lim and smashed the rear deck lid to smithereens on the number 13 Silk Cut Nissan.
As now Gonzalez has to deal with some fighting cars. That's Hagner with White, and that is for position, even though they're on differing strategies, but a nice undercut from the Finn. I think Yanni's going to have this one. Nice cut through by Laust Olsen to find some space, and almost history repeating itself, except for Schwartz. He is able to make the corner. Now we go side by side between White and Hagner. Hagner's going to be on the wrong side of the track, the outside, and trying to give each other space. They just barely do, and Yanni is able to outgun him off the corner.
Oh, that's brilliant stuff by Yanni Hagner, getting through on Brandon White. Well, that just goes to show that sometimes chance favours the prepared mind, and I think Yanni Hagner had said to himself, well, we might be on the outside of the hairpin, but we're going to give it the berries, and boy did he do that. And now through back up to 8th position, having started 14th in the class, and considering the fact we've got now...
Yeah, sorry.
Gonzalez now putting in a fright on everybody, and there is Danielle, who's just returned, back in 13th position in GTO, 20th on the road overall, considering the fact that Brendan Lim, the more time he spends in pit lane, the more he's going to drop down the order. So effectively, Danielle, with regards to cars being on track, is 19th effectively. But this is really starting to become a little bit of a firecracker here between Gonzalez, Olsen and Schwartz, the battle for P3.
Kind of amazed they've already caught back up to him, but we saw Gonzalez was held up through turn 6. Something fierce there. On board with Schwartz in that classic Mazda livery, trying to play catch up with Olsen, but all three of them too far apart down to the braking. And am I hearing some clutching as well with some of these Nissans, actually?
Fear you could be right on that one.
Kind of amazing, because normally, so for those that are new to this series, this 70-minute format is actually longer than their usual endurance format, which is 60 minutes in length. And once again, they all have to take a compromise line there through turn 6. So for them to, and they extended it because there were drivers that were able to make it without a pit stop in the 60-minute for some tracks such as this. And now they're still attempting to try and go without a pit stop on a full 70 minutes. As looks like Shady has now pulled himself into the lane.
So that is going to promote a lot of people, including Yanni Hagner, who becomes the highest placed of the GTO drivers very shortly once Hagner crosses the start-finish line. And Ahmad is now starting to move. This could be very close because Yanni Hagner will be at full speed. Here comes the Finn through Bridgestone. This is going to be tight. And let's see. There's Ahmad now exiting pit lane. Nice and neatly negotiated. And he's ahead of Hagner. Well played by Shady Ahmad, but Hagner is still going to push. And looking at the last lap time by Yanni Hagner, he's absolutely more than ripping the gearbox to shreds. He's trying to catch everybody. He's just put a 19.1 through on the timer. Slightly slower than Cal Young, who's running an 18.6. Emilio Di Ciari now picks. Okay. The chess pieces are starting to fall into place. Here we go.
This is a lapped car. That's Pablo just in front of him. And this is bad news for the Finn, because Hagner seems to be much quicker, but he got held up coming onto the back straightaway, and now he is losing time. It's now nearly 2 seconds up to the 16 car. He's going to try and dive it down through the end. He left, and thankfully... Oh, well, I thought he was going to have it done. No, they're going to have to go too wide. Just a little bit of a clip between them. And somehow that number 2 has survived 2 side-by-side fights, not always for position, through the hairpin.
Yeah, looks like Raniel having to back out of it right at the last moment. Well, to be honest with you, it wasn't a battle that he needed to get himself involved with. As Yanni Hagner now ahead of the Argentinian Di Ciari. And also, well, that's given the opportunity. Brandon White has got through on the 21. Well, things are looking to get a little bit more spicy. Cal Young at the moment is 17.4 seconds ahead of Rodriguez Valenteus. Ilka Cotisalo rounds out the top 3 in the GTOs. Andreas Schuster up 11 spots, is only 1.7 seconds behind the rear bumper of Ilkka Kottisalo, with Mickey Frierson rounding out your GTO top 5, and that is positions 7 to 11.
Kind of surprised that Shady came out ahead, but I guess that goes to show that the pace wasn't quite as there as we thought on Hagner. Now, I do believe he was well behind him, but I thought at this stage of the race he would be trying to catch up to the likes of Young and Schuster. We still don't know what Valenteus is going to do.
Well, it looks like Frierson and Kottisalo have swapped places, so Mickey Frierson has come through. Right, here's the replay. And here is Andreas Schuster. Arm on the brake, turns it in, turn 1. We
lost 2 separate incidents.
That's car 8, I think. Was that Ilkka Kottisalo that just lost the front bumper on the Audi?
So he is now behind the 6 car, and they're actually just going to swap spots because I think Schuster either had a mistake of his own or the car. Yeah, he was into the barriers again at turn 8.
Oh, look at the front end of Ilkka Kottisalo's car. It's like the Cookie Monster wanting the Cookie Monster from Sesame Street. I mean, you can't exactly miss that. The bonnet is not very happy. Right, and here's Andreas Schuster. This is a secondary incident. Oh, sideways. Oh, bang, right rear takes the brunt of the impact.
He's extremely lucky that he was not collected by anybody else in that. He was just enough out of the way, but he took a big hit. Kottisalo naturally having to come into pit lane to get repairs on that one. Who knows how long he is going to have to sit and wait. So maybe Hagner will gain positions just by merit of everybody else running into the wall so far in this race. We're down less than 20 minutes to go. There is Hagner now, and it looks like he has caught up to Ahmad.
Right, and then there is a big gap between 4th and 5th because Andreas Schuster is right. Oh, mechanical black flag for Christophe Olenek. Sorry, I got too excited, tripped over my words there. Number 11, Christophe, has had a mechanical black flag, was running P2, and that has now given Jake Reed a 46-second lead. Let's have a look at the replay. That is Adrian Leone just in front, turns it round, and Onigenak tags the wall on his own there, completely self-assisted. I think saw Leone tried to steer the car right, and then all of a sudden the car wanted to go more into the barriers than helping Onigenak to stay on the circuit, as Johnny Hagner closing in on Adrian Leone there. Well, no, actually that's Shady Ahmad, and Johnny Hagner's got to watch his ping now because the car has just flashed twice.
Really hope that doesn't compromise this race, especially since he's now got a chance. He's got a good run coming into turn 1, and he is through before they even get to the turn-in point. So Hagner up to 5th overall and the highest car to have pitted. Christophe, I almost wonder if maybe because of that car being to the outside just was a little bit off of his marks, got on the throttle, didn't have the grip to that inside line, and off she went. So has since had to tow the car into pit lane, did not manage to drive it completely back, even though he carried on down the back straightaway. On board the Glacier Racing car, he's still waiting for Schuster, Friesen, Valenteus, and Young to take their pit stops.
And with a good pit stop round here, probably being around the 45 to 49 second bracket. Well, put it this way, even if Cal Young pits now, he will still come out in front of Joni Hagner. So it's all about what Hagner does now. Looking at the lap times, Hagner is not that much slower. He's just done a 18.5 has Hagner. Cal Young a high 18.39. So it's all about how hard Joni Hagner starts pushing it. Bearing in mind, Cal Young nearly had his own drama coming out of the hairpin there. So let's have a look at the GSRC replay. This is Mickey Frierson. Oh, turn 1, tags the barrier with the right-hand side of the number 10, and that is why he is now 23 seconds behind. And, well, here comes Andreas Schuster, the man from Germany, not yet pitted. And that is going to be position 12 gain for the German. Andreas Schuster through on Mickey Frierson, who's steering and ride on that Audi number 10 is going to be compromised by tagging the barrier with the right side at turn 1 at Toyota. But it's not stopping him from giving Schuster a little bit of grief as the German goes into pit lane.
All right, so the latest to take his service. And seeing some of these slides down into turn 1 have me wondering, we are now well past the normal race distance in this series, which is about 40 minutes. There might be drivers that aren't, well, I don't want to say used to the tire having to be this worn, because they've been racing these 60 and 70-minute races for many years, Mickey Friesen included, but it still doesn't take away the challenge of being used to that loss of grip as you get later in the race. You can wind up abusing these 80s style tires.
Yeah, it's basically, I would say it this way, Joe. It's another voyage into the unknown. Different circuit, different set of conditions. The track temp has gone to 32 degrees centigrade, 90 Fahrenheit. And yeah, we're at that point where drivers might think, okay, I know these tyres well. But you get to that point in a race, and with a circuit like this, it's got a very abrasive track surface. There's a lot of turning corners, hitting the brakes, and especially the front end might be getting a little bit more degradation coming its way. The rear tyres will be spooling up like nobody's business, and also when you miss that shift, it's going to put more duress on the tyres themselves. So it's all about managing them, and that's the crucial thing. You cannot take any chances at a circuit here like Long Beach. You've got to be as perfect as you can, and at the moment, well, Cal Young at the minute is probably a pit stop ahead, or well, basically is giving himself an opportunity to have a de facto free pit stop, because Valenteus is 22 seconds behind. Frierson 48.1 as Cal Young continuing at the Herculean pace that he has brought this car around by. And still, is it going to be a possibility? Just wondering here, knock on wood, is Cal Young going to make it to the flag before running out of fuel? That's the key point, as well as will the tyres end up falling off the cliff?
And we've been riding on board for a half a lap here. I am not hearing any of the lifting and coasting like we do with Valenteus. We ride on board with him. So he's definitely pushing. I don't think he intends to get to the finish without a pit stop. I think he intends to try and push it as hard as he can. And worth noting that Schuster, I think, came out behind Hagner, who's still our highest bidder, by something in the realm of about 25 seconds. So how far back, do we know how far back Schuster was in relation to Young? Because that could give us a little bit of a clue here.
Well, I mean, at the moment, Schuster currently P8 in the GTO side of things. So he's behind Josh Brain, behind Emilio Di Ciardi. So,
well, we know that Valenteus was around 20 seconds behind, and there's another little bit down to, he was around Mickey Friesen, right?
Yeah.
So that's another 26 seconds.
Yeah, so call it 28, give or take. So, yeah. Yeah, so it's 50 or so seconds, which is now what the gap is between Mickey Frierson and Cal Young. But Cal Young, Andreas Valenteus and Mickey Frierson, they have really decided to go out on a limb. Noel Luneberg right behind the French driver, Romain Bellot, in the number 15 car. That's the battle for P10 in class. And, oh, right, that is Adrian Leone that has just spun in the 711 Cool Racing livery. Audi, and he's gone on a black flag, so that means he's hit his initial incident point limit of 17x, and oh well, he's decided I'm going to hit escape, tow it to the pit lane, because he literally was round the final corner.
He did actually drive it in, it looks like. So he's taken his drive through here, but he's actually coming to the pits, so that's going to add some time to his pit stop, because usually if you have a drive through, you are not allowed to make a stop. Lüneburg, though, down to the inside. Is he going to be able to get by Bello here? Yes, he is. Textbook maneuver.
Yeah, as Cal Young. Oh, Cal Young has pitted with just over 10 minutes to go. So that says the signal to Joni Hagner, right, I've got to start driving this car like I stole it here on the streets of Long Beach. But he's still, I think, way too far back, because Cal Young, 11.2 seconds. And Adrian Leone serving his drive-through at the moment. So Cal Young will return. Will it be in front of Joni Hagner? Looks like the answer on that will be a yes, because Mickey Frierson's coming through the hairpin now. Cal Young punches the throttle down hard and rejoins in second position. So you've got to wonder, how is the top three going to work itself out? Because you've still got Valenteus, you've still got Frierson, and more to the point, if you're thinking, I mean, that was a pretty decent pit stop from Cal Young on that one. A high 43.7 total pit lane time, including transfer in and out. If Valenteus or Frierson get a step wrong in these pit stops, then this could give Hagner an opportunity to be ending up on the rostrum.
I think a podium is there, as Jacob Reed sporting a little bit of damage on the nose now, not just on the sides. We've got a replay. Did he get it here?
Oh, it's going to be on the curbing. Oh, and that was Adrian Leone who had hit the tyre barriers in front of him. I think Adrian Leone, you are not going to be on Jacob Reed's Christmas card list this year.
No, sir. And that is a good example of how you can be doing everything right at Long Beach and still it can bite you from somebody else's issues. That explains that damage we see on the right front. The good news is, at least if you're Jacob, not everybody else, is that he's got 45 seconds over Gonzalez. It's a massive gap right now that he has pulled on the rest of the field. So he's got some wiggle room if need be. However, down in the GTOs, now Valenteus and Friesen, we've heard them lifting and coasting a lot this race. We anticipate they're trying to save a pit stop. Valenteus is ahead of Young. Young is ahead of Friesen, though, and then Hagner is the fourth one down. Hagner obviously gaining quickly on Mickey and could try to get him by the end. Cal Young might be a different part of this.
Yeah, I'm just noticing the sector times. Cal Young, high 21.1, sector 1. Valenteus, high 21.7. Jacob Reed on lap 52. Another new fastest lap despite the front end damage, despite the scrapes on the left-hand side of his Nissan GTP. 1 minute 12, 1:42. So now we're getting into those realms of when some drivers are able to push. That's what Jacob Reed has been doing all race long, and he's given himself the opportunity of getting a pit stop and getting it done before Gael Gonzalez comes out of the over the start-finish line. And I'm looking here, Cal Young's last lap, 1:18.618. He's just taken 1.2 seconds out of Valenteus. Joni Hagner is running in the 19.2s. He's just taken 6 3/4 tenths out of Mickey Frierson. So the first and third place GTO cars have now done 48 laps each. As there's another GTO with a bit of front end damage.
And we're only, I think, looking at about 4 laps left here, though. So Cal Young would need much better pace to be running down Audrius.
That's Il Cocotti Solo with the damage there. There's Noel Lüneburg closing in on Brandon White. So yeah, I think you're right there, Joe, that Frierson and Valenteus are just chancing it. And this could be an interesting few moments.
Lüneburg up to the top 10. That's Brandon White, 4 position in front of him. We got another replay here. And this is John Schwartz. Whenever you get a car that runs into you, he's lost it on the exit, spun the tires up, and that poor Audi was just wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, Martin Krejcik was the number 20 that went skywards.
Noel looking like he might have something for Brandon before the end here as he's all over the back of him. Lars Stolsen in the meantime. We haven't seen anybody in these continuing GTOs, somebody spun out there, take a pit stop. So they seem to be able to get to the end pretty easily on this one because nobody has stopped earlier. And you would think that someone would take a chance if they were close on fuel to try and get a pit stop and really push to the end. Olsen, though, still fighting with Gonzalez.
Well, Enijak has spent 6 minutes and 36 in the pit lane. He's out back. He's 5 laps, 6 laps down. He's got another mechanical black flag. Does not seem to be going well today for the number 11 here at Long Beach as we've got just under 4.5 minutes to go.
Probably would have been a pretty good points day for him as well, with at least a second place. Well, on the cards, you can see Laus struggling on the throttle. Again, ground effects cars getting the throttle down. Remember the turbo boost that is underneath these things. It is massive. And while I understand that they did change them a bit in the recent build so that it's not as crazy of a kickback, it still seems to be a problem as Christoph absolutely noses it into the fountain concrete.
And, well, Fabian Youngblood closing in on John Schwartz as they go past the water fountain. Battle for P4.
Whoa!
Oh, and Lüneburg now closing in on Brandon White, and they were both getting a little bit squirrely whilst putting down the traction. And this is heading into Firestone. Lüneburg to the inside, and there is the now returned Brendan Lim. Adrian Leone has just got a black flag again, I think, and that might be race over for the 26 Audi GTO. Cal Young, with 3 1/4 minutes to go, has got that gap down to under 7.1 seconds, and it's 1.6 that Cal Young has taken out of Odrius Valenteus. Mickey Frierson is now going to have to watch out because here comes Joni Hagner, and Hagner's only 1.5 seconds behind. So the race is on. Can Young catch Valenteus? Can Hagner catch Frierson?
I think Hagner's looking a lot more likely than Young, because it's still 6.5 seconds for Cal Young to run down the number 1 car, unless he had miscalculated on his fuel-saving strategy and has to really slow up at the end. It's not looking like Odrius is going to give this one up, but it ain't over yet. And Mickey Friesen is racing to try to retain a podium, but he's got a multi-time champion sitting behind him in the number 2.
Yeah, that gap now has been decimated by the Flying Finn, and it was over 6.5 seconds as Olsen has got through on Gonzalez for P2. There's the move, picture in picture, top right of your screens. That was at Firestone heading into Indy left, and now you get the rear view camera from Mickey Friesen with Joni Hagner closing in. And still, this is getting really close. Friesen is going to have to make the back end of that Audi 90 GTO wider than an 18-wheeler articulated lorry. Oh, John Schwartz has just lost it in front of Fabian Youngblood, and the number 12 has gotten through.
And that was Jacob Reed just behind him. I was going to remark that Jacob might give them 1 lap less to battle here, but I think the fuel saving has finally caught up with Friesen, although he's going to guard the inside. It's not going to be enough, and Hagner finally gets through. That's going to move him into 3rd. They're now being caught by Youngblood, who's not fighting with Reed for position, but he's also probably going to want to avoid going a lap down, as he's done so good to stay on that lead lap in this 70-minute race. No, he is going to pull over, and he is going to concede to the 4.
So another going to have I think, there we go, Guy Gonzalez. Oh, strikes the tyre barrier with the left rear. And looks like the rear wing has ended up bent in one place, but Mickey Frierson knows now he's got to resign himself to the fact that Joni Hagner has got the pace advantage. And despite the best efforts of one Cal Young, who was striding away, had to pit on effectively as the white flag lap is now underway. Jacob Reed, damaged front deck lid and all, is going to run his way around this 1.968 mile 11 turn circuit for the final time. Laust Olsen, mechanical black flag on the final lap.
Now he should be able to finish with that, as you are given 4 laps to repair, and you can finish with a mechanical black flag without getting a time penalty. Gonzalez also letting them pie, seemingly with I think, damage from that incident we saw on the replay. So the 18 also falls off the podium. Jungbluth now up to 3rd. Olsen, though, a minute behind Jacob Reed. So close to a full lap behind our leader. And, this is what cost Laust Olsen. It's honestly amazing that he's still in the 2nd position and running at pace. So he is going to finish this race, as Jungbluth is a little bit too far back and also going to be a lap down. But Jacob Reed is going to come home with the win. He avoided the pitfalls that many other fell to. It was not a perfect race, but it sure looks like one by the timing screens, as Jacob Reed takes victory.
Yeah, and Laust Olsen 65 seconds behind. He lost a big amount of time as, John Schwartz through on Fabian Jungbluth. And they're swapping positions. They are dueling for the final step of the rostrum in the GTP side of things. Andreas Valenteus.
They've already finished, though, so that's...
So, I've just got ahead of myself there, but what a fuel strategy. Started lifting and coasting more than anybody else in this race, and he's not the only one. But what a job here by Andreas Valenteus, the Ukrainian in the number 1 car. Cal Young has got that gap down to just under 5.5 seconds. But more to the point, Valenteus will bring it out of the final hairpin and draw to victory lane. Valenteus victorious with no pit stop here after 70 minutes of Long Beach.
And it came down to just under 6 seconds between them. No wonder it was hard to make the strategy call on that one, because Cal Young just about beat him. And Laust Olsen, I think, is going to be one of our last drivers to get to the finish here. Remember, that car had to limp its way home, so that's why Jungbluth was able to overtake him, because Jungbluth had already finished. And for Olsen, it doesn't matter where he comes around in regard to Jungbluth. He gets a whole lap to himself. Let's take a look at those results, starting with our GTPs. And Jacob Reed, your winner by 1 minute and 17 seconds. I'm kind of curious how that racks up in terms of the largest victories we've seen in this series. Fabian Jungbluth, the lap down, was 3rd, but on the podium, John Schwartz, late incidents put him to 4th, and same thing with Gonzalez, wound up only 5th today, 2 laps down. Christoph, I think, with another incident, finds himself 6 laps down in the end. Brendan Lim, having to take extensive repairs, was 7th, as Jansu Pardo was 8th, Ray Oliver 9th, and Andrew Blackman rounds out our 10 cars in the GTPs. What did the GTOs look like here, Alex?
Wow, what a strategy by Andreas Valenteus, winning by just over 6 seconds from Cal Young, who was closing him down in the dying stages. Joni Hagner, hardest charger of the night, up 11 spots, finishes 3rd and takes the final position on the podium. Mickey Frierson tried the same strategy, didn't quite work out for the number 10, but still a respectable finish in 4th place, ahead of Shady Ahmad. Emilio Di Ciari, Josh Brain, Andreas Schuster, Noel Luneberg, and Brandon White rounding out your top 10. Then after that, Roman Bello. Ilika Cotisalo was definitely having to war his way through the trenches ahead of Pablo Rangel. And then we've got Martin Krejcik, who was punted skywards earlier on by a rogue John Schwartz. He ends up 14th, ahead of Adrian Leone, Ignacio Riera, JD Rodriguez, ending his race after just a handful of laps.
We did see that attrition come up, but it took a while towards the end of the race, and glad to see that we got pretty much everybody home. I do believe that we've got our sixth place finisher in the GTOs ready to talk to us, Emilio Dicciari. Emilio, it looked like it was a tough one out there, which I assume you knew coming in, with it being Long Beach and an endurance race at the same time.
Wow, yeah, for sure was a tough one. Today, I think that I have a good aspiration for the podium, to be honest, but maybe I didn't manage so well the strategy. So I'm very happy because I was suffering a lot in the last couple of laps because I was having the alert of packet loss, and I say, okay, I'm gonna be out before the finish line, and it didn't happen. I could finish in P6, which is great because as I say, a good aspiration for today and a good result. I'm so happy because I survived.
Are you amazed at seeing a couple drivers manage to go without a pit stop in the GTOs?
Yeah. I saw. It was. I don't know if it was on my plan, but I have consideration to maybe don't make a pit stop. But I could be full saving, because I was very unfocused to do that. I was many times about to run away of the track because I was trying to let the car in front go and trying to lift a bit, but no, I try to be faster as I can, and managed to have a good stop. I think that I lost maybe a chance to be in P5 about some moment with some GTP or some lap cars, but well, it's happened, it's racing, so I want to enjoy the moment, and I think that it's very good for the championship, so it put me happy.
Well, will you also be happy when we head off to Misano next week and also back to the standard format of 40 minutes?
Yeah, for sure. 1 hour and 10 minutes was a lot in here. So yeah, I'm happy because the 40 minutes will be more interesting race for sure. Well, this is also one interesting one, but yeah, I prefer the 40 minutes for the next race, and let's see what happens in Misano.
Well, that was our sixth place finisher, Emilio Dicciari, here today. And we're going to follow it up with Alex having a chat with P2, Laust Olsen.
Yes, one of the very few drivers to go for the pit stop. Laust, firstly, congratulations on surviving the streets of Long Beach. But between yourself and Mr. Gonzalez, it was a tough battle that went right down to the end.
Yeah, that was... That kept it quite interesting. I was for the first time this week trying to save fuel and make it without a pit stop, which is not something that I'm normally good at. And I wasn't sure if he was saving too, or if he would be making a pit stop. So I tried what I could to keep him behind. Until I think there was a roadblock ahead where I had to slow down, and he sneaked past. But then later on, he made a mistake too, so I could get that position back. But yeah, it was quite boring, the fuel saving part, I must admit. But it was a good race with Gal.
And not too shabby to finish behind Jacob Reed, who was flying around the circuit. He was setting really fast laps. Like he'd go on a binge of about 3 to 5 fastest laps of the race, and then just turn down the volume a little bit and lift and coast. Like you say, it's not easy here, and especially with the back market traffic with the GTOs, it can be very tricky when, like you say, having a roadblock, you're having to decide with split-second reactions as to where you're going to place the vehicle. But still, yeah, you ended up with a mechanical black flag. You were able to bring the car across the line and finish P2. Obviously, it's back to the usual format next week at Misano. That'll be a little bit of an easier task for everybody to go flat out.
Yeah, looking forward to a flat-out race. Yeah, regarding the black flag I was trying to do some quick laps in the end, but yeah, as usual, when you go outside the rhythm you have been driving all race, whether you are trying to drive faster or slower, you easily make mistakes, and I did that, and luckily I was able to bring it home, and without exceeding the, I don't remember, is it 4 or 5 laps you have to clear black flag, but there was only 2 left, so that lucky me.
Indeed, and finishing on the lead lap as well. Laus Olsen, our runner-up in GTPs. Thank you for your time, buddy, and we'll see you next week at Misano.
Yeah, thank you.
That's going to wrap up our interview. So a big thank you goes out to the Camel GT community, IMSA Vintage. Sorry, it's just going back to old habits.
I know. It happens. We all have these moments, folks. Don't worry.
And also thank you to our team with Alex, Christian, and Dougie. Make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a moment. You heard us mention in it that Misano is coming up on May 30th. That'll be at 1 p.m. Eastern. Definitely a track that's difficult in its own way, but very different challenge. And then we have some other races happening in our various series, including Lotus going to Mosport in a week's time. But be sure to check out all of our broadcasts that are listed on the screen. And until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.
This is iRacing.